Though journalists are meant to dissociate themselves from the story, it was very hard for all of us because we were part of the story.
I was in shock. The first day I broke down sobbing when the towers collapsed.
We had had one broadcast lesson and had been filming sandwiches in the park and going, ooh, look, this is in focus, aren't we clever? And suddenly we got given cameras and told to go out and shoot.
I was asked to tell the story of the firefighters in the West Village.
The firehouse on West 10th Street is closed. Squad 18 has lost so many men that the firehouse is shut down. Dennis Smith, retired firefighter and prolific author on the subject, tells the story of Staten Island Rescue 5.
The day crew was already working assigned. They, it was 8:45. The night crew was still there in the firehouse. It was 8:45. They get off at 9. All 12 of those men got on that fire truck. So there are 13 firefighters there. I mean, ordinarily there would have been 6. And of course, all 13 were missing. I think firefighters, have a very strong bonding in the best of times when they work together. In the worst of times, of course, the bonding is so much more solidified and everyone comes together.
Firefighters in the village have suffered tremendous losses. Here at Engine Company number 3, firefighters are working up to 48-hour shifts to find any of their 12 missing members.
Engine 33, right up the street from New York University on Great Jones Street, lost 11 firefighters. Extraordinary loss.
Dennis Smith graduated from NYU and has some advice for students who are sorting through this tragedy.
So I think students who are thinking about this should put their own lives in perspective to this, that they are healthy and that they are alive and that that's the way it is, and that they should go about their lives.
For NYU Tonight, I'm David Mackenzie.
Last Monday was not a usual day at the mosque. Members of the police force and Muslim leaders gathered to find ways to protect, reassure and educate the community.
Muslims are not terrorists. Muslims are not terrorists. Muslims are not terrorists.
But it is not only the Arab community that has been affected. A Sikh leader, K.S. Alafawiya, explained how his people have been singled out.
The problem is that because we're different, just like some of our Muslims wear particular clothes, we're easily visible and we're subject to attacks.
Bedford-Stuyvesant is considered the most ethnically diverse neighborhood in New York. In the community, people's lives have obviously been disrupted. The owner of a local restaurant, Mutasem Idris, told us that business was significantly down, but he was more concerned about his wife.
She says she's not safe and she can't go outside. I can't live like this.
However, it is the women who are feeling the most vulnerable. 2 14-year-old girls told us their parents did not allow them to go out last weekend.
I would say as a woman, it's more noticeable to see a Muslim female than a Muslim man, because a female would dress in certain garb, so it's easy for them to pick up that a female is a Muslim. So they would target, I would say, Muslim women more so than men.
Amira Habibi Brown heads the Arab American Family Support Center that has been helping people through the crisis.
We've been told and we've heard of harassments. We've been told about women being attacked in the sense of being stones or rocks thrown at them, bottles thrown at them, spitting on them, pushing, a lot of looks and a lot of cursing.
Closer to home, NYU students have also been affected. Vinay Chauhan, a sophomore, returned home to reassure his parents.
And while on the bus ride home, it was about 5 hours, there was a break where I went to the bathroom, I came back, and I was disgusted to find that my seat was slashed up.
Other students have experienced prejudice before. Alan Elkis, a Christian Assyrian born in Iraq, was a victim of a similar backlash during the Gulf War. He offers students some advice.
Don't let the emotions get the best of you. Use your brain and not your gut feeling at this point. If you do that, you're open to more unbiased conversation.
Many Muslim people are showing their solidarity with other Americans. Nohan is an Egyptian Muslim who joined the relief volunteers at the Javits Center.
I'm volunteering here because I feel like I have a responsibility, because what happened is a tragedy for everybody, for everyone.
Back at the mosque, a policeman removes the required protective covering from his shoes and returns to the street to do his job. This community of Muslims, although uneasy, can be reassured that people are taking their safety seriously. Hopefully, they can feel part of an American community once more. This is Gabby Menezes reporting from NYU Tonight.
Thank you for joining us, Professor Stevens. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges that the media faces in providing objective, accurate news?
Well, there are a number of challenges in a situation like this. Just being
some of these news events are almost unimaginably large. And I think for Americans, not just New Yorkers, but for all Americans, September 11th was that. Very hard to grapple with, and it's been interesting to watch it make its way through the group mind, really, in America. You know, initially just stunning as pure news in its largest, most terrible, terrifying form. I was fascinated by the fact that at some point people didn't want to look anymore at the images. I mean, there was one set of images we never really looked at, the images of people jumping out of the building, which must have been, I've never seen them, must have been so haunting and terrible, and were seen overseas to some extent, but were not really seen after the very initial coverage in the United States. But even the images which were, for me, the most powerful and terrible images I've ever seen in my life, I think, the images of the plane slicing into the two towers, the video of those things, and even the pictures of the exploding towers as the plane hit, they stopped being seen. People oddly didn't want to look at them. They became something that was in bad taste. I was one of the editors, one of 5 editors on a book about radio and television coverage of the 24 hours that begin right before the planes hit. Publishers were saying there's not a lot of interest in September 11th. I feel that this reflects in some ways the psychological stages of grief. And it is almost as if we were blocking it out for a while. And I'm wondering whether this discussion involved in the 10th anniversary might remove that block. There's no doubt that this was a paradigm changing, a language changing, and a politics changing event in the history of the United States, in many unfortunate ways. We launched a war on terrorism that a lot of us believe should have been a police action against terrorism. A lot more Americans died after September 11th in the wars that were fought growing out of September 11th, or in some cases maybe not organically growing out of September 11th. I don't think we're done with thinking about September 11th. And I think the process of comprehending goes on.
By Wednesday, life had come to a complete halt for Lower Manhattan residents. Houston is usually one of the busiest roads in Manhattan, but on Wednesday it became a parking lot. Trucks loaded with scaffolding were waiting. Diggers were waiting. Lights were waiting. All waiting to be sent to Ground Zero. These 2 Brooklyn construction workers had been here since 6 a.m.
Because there's so many men there right now, right.
Can't get the equipment
can't get in there.
It's a lot of equipment down there now, and we're just standing by. If something break down, they move us here.
Pedestrians were stopped here at Houston from going any further south. The people were gathering together here to try and understand what had happened just the day before. I saw people leaving their homes from the financial district for safer ground. They weren't the only ones waiting.
Actually, we came last night to try to get back into our building because we have a dog in there, and they sent us away, told us to come back today, and we've been here since 7 a.m. this morning. And they're trying to organize so that we can go down and get our pets.
My pet was in the apartment. I was at work, and this is the first chance I've been able to come back and get the pet.
For a city known for its congestion, the only way to get around was on foot or by bike. The only traffic jam that day was at a military checkpoint on West Street, where soldiers were checking all vehicles before they headed to the site. But the firefighters couldn't wait, so they walked. And cheering them on were crowds. Mike Oliveira drove from New Hampshire to be here.
I was in the military for 4 years, and I did it so that I'd never have to see something like this. And I see something like this, and now I feel powerless. I got to do something about it.
Kate Kapsula was with her 2 children at the World Trade Center when the first plane hit.
It's amazing. People are absolutely incredible. Incredible. They come out, they've left their families, they've come. Fire trucks from Maryland and Pennsylvania. People from all over have come. There is a sense that we might be able to be helpful here. We have a restaurant, we just fed all these Con Ed crews here. And that felt really good that I could somehow turn around and give back.
No matter where you walked, you were among unsung heroes.
My name is Joe Wright, and we were just cleaning up iron worker, 580 iron workers. Just cleaning up, half of bodies, dead bodies. Found a lady that's alive, 2 broken legs, from the 77th floor, but she lived. God bless her. It is dangerous because if you move the wrong way, if you stand on the wrong side of the steel, you're going to get hit. And you know steel, it's going to kill you.
On the way back to NYU, I walked through Soho, which should have been bustling with traffic headed to the Holland Tunnel. Instead, it was like walking through a ghost town. Only 2 miles away from Ground Zero, NYU had stopped. For roughly the 1,000 students displaced from their dorms by the attack, Cole's Sports Center became a dorm. Other students organized a sandwich drive for the emergency relief workers. NYU students, along with other New Yorkers, gathered at Union Square that evening to remember their loved ones, to support each other, and to feel part of a community. The next day, our neighborhood was off limits as well. With a plume of smoke hanging on the horizon, students came out to Washington Square Park to show that they were still proud to be New Yorkers.
I'm scared. I am scared. Because, you know, we don't know what the future is going to bring. But I really believe that New Yorkers, when you're in need, people are there for you.
For NYU Tonight, I'm Danielle Yates.
On Monday afternoon, more than 1,000 students waited for their new housing assignments outside the summer housing office. For an hour, the line stretched around 3 sides of a city block. These students were evacuated from 4 downtown residence halls on Tuesday morning: John Street, Cliff Street, Water Street, and the Exchange. They haven't seen their belongings since.
I gotta go shopping. I got no clothes. This is like the last of my clean clothes. You like my new outfit? Hey, you go shopping? I had to. One pair of pants, man.
A frantic knock on their door warned students that they needed to evacuate the buildings. Most students grabbed only a wallet or a sweatshirt and ran to the street. As the first tower collapsed, a huge cloud of smoke blew past them. They quickly ran north to escape. None knew that 10 days later, they would still be barred from returning to their rooms.
Shortly after the second building fell, they told everybody to leave. I just grabbed whatever I could. I grabbed my cell phone, my keys, and my wallet and ran. I didn't have anything. All my clothes, everything was there.
For the last week, they have been living and sleeping in Cole's Sports Center. Ana, from Mexico, was one of these unlucky students.
And it was kind of difficult during the week because we were with people that have had the same experience. So we had this kind of cycles, emotional cycles, with people being very stressed.
After 1 hour of waiting, students were finally able to enter the building and receive their assignments. Once inside, things moved quickly. 500 rooms were secured by NYU at the Sheraton and 256 at the Park Central Hotel. Some students moved into these rooms. Others weren't so lucky and filled gaps in uptown residence halls. Xavier, an undergraduate from France, was assigned to a new residence hall at 26th Street. Exhausted from his experience at Kohl's, and still without any of his possessions, Xavier was sad to be separated from his roommate.
I just want to come back in Cliff Street where I actually live. I don't want to stay here for a long time because it's really hard.
Displaced students were offered free bus service to and from campus. And to ease this difficult time, NYU provides them with $200, free books and notebooks, and a 10-meal plan for the semester. They also provide a center for free international phone calls at the BOPS library. Arriving at the hotel, students were treated to luxurious rooms with double beds. Television sets and free towels are nice, but they aren't home. Many students are feeling the loss of their computer, their clothes, and the photos of their loved ones. A sign of hope is that on Wednesday, the lights and the water were back on in the downtown residence halls. But no one seems to know when they'll be able to return home for sure. This is Gretchen Weber for NYU Tonight.
Police put up barricades to prevent people from crossing Houston Street. If you didn't have a valid ID with your home address printed on it, you couldn't travel past a certain point. Eventually, I ended up on West Street. The police led us to Northmore and West Street, where the press waited to gain further access. Every major American news organization was represented, including foreign media from Japan, Italy, and Australia. We couldn't see anything except smoke, but clearly, the police had no intention of changing their minds.
There will be no more movement. Stay where you're at.
I decided to walk east toward Greenwich Street. The next thing I knew, I was right in front of the wreckage. I was shocked when I got there because I realized I had been at that very spot less than 3 days before working on another story. I was following Brad Oilman as he campaigned for city council. But on September 12th, I was covering the biggest cleanup New York has ever faced.
How many hours were you in there?
We've been here since 3:30 yesterday afternoon.
Have you had a break?
No break.
I was in Washington yesterday when it started, and I wasn't afraid. I was afraid I wouldn't get home, and I did. And we decided to come down here and help, and I still can't believe it. So we got some friends in there. All our brothers are in there, so we're praying a lot.
Then I met Mike, a volunteer who used to be homeless.
We play different roles here. Anything we can do to help the situation out. We've been here since about 9 o'clock this morning, and we've been helping, remove debris removal. We've seen a lot of casualties.
After I left Ground Zero, I caught up with Mike. I was interested in knowing why he went down there.
And then when I heard, what was going on, and I felt in my heart there was going to be a lot of homeless people, I too was homeless at one point. So I know what it is to not have somewhere to go.
No longer homeless, Mike works for the Doe Fund, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping the homeless re-enter society. It is based on the idea that work works. The first job, cleaning the streets of New York City.
Seeing as how I sweep almost every day, it helped me to get the job done a lot faster than most that don't do that. And believe it or not, that becomes a skill at one point.
The reality of seeing the destruction and chaos firsthand left me feeling very sad and vulnerable. I turned to God, family, and friends to help me come to terms with the tragedy. Almost every day since the attack, friends have stopped by my apartment. We talk, debate, and comfort each other. It is much easier to face this together.
To put my American flag up there.
For NYU Tonight, this is Charity Elder.